Welcome or welcome back to Lift You Up Inspiring Health Stories. I'm your host, Tamika Bickham. I'm the founder and chief storyteller of TB Media Group. But for the purpose of this podcast, I am your health and happiness matchmaker. This month is National Human Trafficking Awareness Month. And if you are watching this on Monday, January 11th, the day that this comes out, it is National Human Trafficking Awareness Day. So I'm so honored to have a great local nonprofit here in South Florida, Glory House of Miami, to talk about the importance of this day and how they are helping survivors of human trafficking and how you can get involved. Our physical, mental, and emotional health is not just a want. It is a need for happy lives and prosperous businesses. Lift You Up is the podcast where we share inspiring health stories from business owners who are fulfilling their purpose to live their healthiest lives and helping you do the same. From former TV reporter to marketing entrepreneur and content creator, I care about sharing stories that matter and stories that connect us. I'm your host, Tamika Bickham, your health and wellness matchmaker. Well, today I'm so excited to meet for the first time virtually. That's how we're all doing it now. Is Betty Lara. You are the executive director of Glory House, and I'm really honored to meet you and to hear your story and learn more about Glory House today. So thanks for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me, Tamika. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. So first of all, why don't you start by telling us a little bit about Glory House, and then we'll kind of dive into you and your story.
Sure, that's fine. Well, we're Glory House of Miami is a faith-based nonprofit organization. We started back in 2011, and basically our mission is to provide a safe place for adult survivors of human trafficking so that they can get healed and restored.
Awesome. Important work for sure. Tell me how you became, because I know you did. None of us have a linear path, right? I was going to say, I know you didn't have a linear path reading through your bio, but who really does, right? So I want to understand your story and how you ended up with Glory House. So kind of take us through your path.
Yeah, linear is a nice way of putting it. I've never been trafficked, but I do come from abuse, and from with my father when I was very young. And of course, when something like that happens with your father, that really messes you up in terms of the male, how you view the male side. So I was, pretty rebellious and crazy things in my young life, and I also had a couple marriages that were horrible. I'm happily married now, but through all that I've gone through a lot. You can imagine, divorce, abuse, suffering, and drugs. I mean, I could go on and on. So I have also gone through a journey of healing and restoration in my own life. And so one of my passions is to see women step into their purpose, step into their destiny. And we all have at some point in time, we all have to face, things that have happened to us, heal our hearts from whether it's relationships that have been abusive, parents that have been abusive, things that we've done that we're not very proud of. And so I've always, to me, to empower women, to help women, that's just always been, it's like in me, it's
Part
innate.
of who you are. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But about 11 years ago, I remarried for the third time. And I can say that I'm happily married now, 11 years, to a wonderful man. And he had a sister, has actually two sisters, and his sister is a full-time evangelist. She's been to 40 nations. She's written about 10 books. And so she's never in Miami. She's all over the world except for Miami. But she had a vision. God put a vision in her heart that she had gone to a government meeting, and found out, how horrific human trafficking was in Miami and in the United States. And she goes, well, if the government is doing something about that, we got to do something, as a faith-based organization. So that's when Glory House got birthed. And it was very, very specific. The vision, we would have our first home where survivors could live with us for a long period of time. It would be called Glory House because we would glorify God, and they would come there to the home to get restored. And that's exactly how it happened. We had the first home for human trafficking survivors called Glory House. And in 4 years that we had it open, we had 14 women live with us. We have non-residential survivors as well, but those are the ones that lived with us from 3 months all the way to over, like 18 months. And they came there to really receive every single service that they need, but in addition to that, healing and restoration, which is most important. So when she asked me, she came to me and she goes, since I'm not here and I have that in my heart, would you help me to open up, Glory House? And I said, well, yeah, why not? I have no experience working with survivors of human trafficking. I just do know trauma because I've gone through some trauma, definitely never like they have, obviously. And we're going to talk a little bit what they go through. But I said, yeah, I kind of had a job and I was kind of bored. And I said, I want something that's exciting and that is new. And, it's hard work, Tamika, but it's been really rewarding. And I've got some amazing testimonies of women that we have served. So that's how my journey started. My sister-in-law asking me if I would direct the ministry. And I said yes. And of course, my husband supported me. So here I am 8 years later, as executive director of the ministry.
I have so many thoughts and so many different things that I want to say, but like the first thing that comes to mind is thank you for being so open.
Oh,
I mean,
of course.
I like that just really makes me feel good because I just, we all have a purpose behind what we do, and I just appreciate you so much sharing that because sometimes we're so scared to share, the challenging times in our lives. And
trust me, at what point in time in my life, there was a lot of shame, a lot of guilt in my life. Oh my God, people know I'm doing drugs, looking for love in all the wrong places. But that is all a consequence of, at 5 years old, I didn't have control of my dad abusing me, you know what I mean? So that's just the life that and how it just happened. But I wanted to take something that was horrific and that had happened to me and then just bring hope to other women that, okay, things happen like that. And, sometimes we have control, sometimes we don't. I made some bad choices, but others I didn't. I married for life, but I didn't, married to divorce. So, I always, in the forefront of my heart and my what I do is always to bring hope to women so that they don't feel shame, that they don't feel condemnation, that they don't feel guilty, and that, your horrific, your pain can be turned into your purpose and your pulpit.
So you mentioned your childhood upbringing, some of those experiences, bad decisions, good decisions, becoming the executive director of Glory House, and I think 8 years ago you mentioned.
Right. Yes.
But you briefly mentioned you were bored in a job. What was there another career path there that you were in?
Oh my goodness. Well, I've been very blessed because when I was very young, I was making six-figure income. I was working for a very, very large corporation, and my second husband, I married him, and he was very, very wealthy, extremely wealthy. And so I was able to leave my six-figure income job. And so I was married to him for 18 years in a lot of wealth. But toward the end, I just needed to get out of the marriage. And so I got a job at a church working for a pastor. I wrote my first book because I ended up with $50 after my divorce.
Wow.
Yeah, but like $50 is low, but when you come from wealth to $50, I had to make some really major adjustments in my life. So then a book came out of that. And then I never
What's
expected
the
to
name
get
of the
there.
book?
Oh, it's called $50 at 55, starting life all over again with Jesus.
Ooh, I love
Literally,
that.
I
I'm
have
gonna.
to,
Where can
yeah.
people find that? I just want to know so that I can link to that,
And
right?
in Amazon,
On
it's
Amazon.
just
Okay.
basically, it's my testimony. And the same year I got divorced, I met my husband at his house, never went out for a date. And I met him 3 months later. We were married, and here we are 11 years later. We're happily married. So you never know when you say, I'll never do something, what God has for you on the other side.
Exactly. I love that. So you got the job at a church. That's where you wrote your first book.
Yes, yes. And I
Okay.
worked there. I worked there for 8 years. And actually, that was the first confirmation that I wanted to switch jobs, because I went to their missions meeting and I asked them to support Glory House, and they said yes. So I said good, because we had zero money. So the first time, I went and I made the presentation, they gave us a check for $12,000. So I said, okay, this is a good confirmation that I'm in the right track.
So that was where you made the transition from working
To
at the
Glory
church to
House.
Glory
Yes.
House.
To Glory House. Yeah.
Now, in your years, you mentioned the six-figure, I'm guessing, a more corporate job,
Right.
and then working at the church. Did you ever, until that moment at the end there, think back to your experiences as a child and think that you would enter into this type of work, like what you're doing now with Glory House?
Oh, no. No. If you would have told me 10 years ago that I would be working with survivors of human trafficking, I would have told you, Tamika, you're not well in the head.
Why? That was just not on the radar.
Well, just because, I love women, and I love to empower women, and I love to help women, and I love to see them, on their other side of their pain, right? But human trafficking, it's another level altogether. I mean, you're
Right.
talking about women that get raped 10 times a day, as an example. You're talking about women that, are drugged and beaten. You're talking about women that, get guns pointed at their heads. You get women that, are all their IDs are taken, and they go from city to city to city, not knowing, where they are. They even change their names. So, I mean, and on and on and on. So, like, I don't have that experience that, to work. I'm like, I don't have a PhD in psychology or,
Right.
a master's degree. My passion is just to see women. But you can always surround yourself with people that have the gifts that you don't have and the talents that you don't have, and then they help you out. And that's what I did. I just sort of direct, but there's a lot of wonderful staff and volunteers that we have that have those gifts to help.
Tell me more about the work that Glory House does, because you mentioned the human trafficking problem in Miami or in the United States. Again, I think so many times when we talk about human trafficking or sex trafficking, people see that as a problem in other countries, not here.
Correct.
So I'm guessing we are very wrong, or those who think that are very wrong. So can you tell us more about the problem of human trafficking?
The issue is, South Florida, and Florida is one of the largest trafficking states, where human trafficking happens. So, we're in South Florida. So that's number one. The average age of a survivor is 13 years old. Human trafficking doesn't happen in Liberty City. Human trafficking happens in Coral Gables. It happens in 8th Street. It happens in Miami Beach. It happens in North Miami Beach. It happens in Okeechobee. It happens in Homestead. So it happens in universities. It happens in colleges. It happens in high schools. It happens in middle schools. So human trafficking doesn't discriminate, basically.
Right.
And so there's an issue. That our children are at risk. The age keeps getting younger and younger. When I first started, in like 8 years ago, it was like 15 years old. Now it's going down to 13, 12. So that's the issue, not only in South Florida, but in the United States. Human trafficking is big on all your big cities: New York, LA, Texas, Florida, all your hub cities, Atlanta, because there's traffic going in and out, truck truck trafficking, airplane trafficking. So it just happens anywhere. And of course, we have to bring awareness to our community, because you can't just leave a child go to a movie anymore, a mall anymore. What they're watching on social media, what they're watching on parents just need to be very, very careful. So it's a big issue for young. I mean, we happen to work with adult survivors, 18 plus, but there's other organizations that we partner with that work with minors. You come to us, and if you need any service, we can provide it for you. If you need medical assistance, we can help you. If you need legal assistance, we can help you. If you need counseling, we can help you. If you need clothing, we can help you. What we want to be to these women is a family that they can come to and that they can trust. And trust me, it takes them years to trust people. I guess the best way to describe Tamika is we take a person and we start life all over again with them, and we train them in any really thing that they need and equip them so that they can become self-sufficient. And then we're just there as a support system.
I love that. So how many women can you house at Glory House?
Okay. Well, when we first started, we wanted to, we got a home for a 6-bedroom home, and we figured we'll have, bunk beds, and we'll have 8. Oh my goodness. We never got to 8, because they have so much trauma that they trigger themselves. So the most that we've ever had is 4 at one time. They have nightmares at home. Some of them come with issues with cutting, they cut. A lot of them come with a lot of medication because they have a lot of anxiety or panic attacks, or they can't sleep at night. A lot of them come with like anger and even rage because, people have kicked them in the head, beat them. Having a lot of women in our first 4 years inside the home, we decided to cut back because we wanted to offer a deeper level of restoration rather than a numbers thing. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, instead of
Yes.
8, it's a lot better if you have less, but you do more, you go at a deeper level with them. And then,
Right.
of course, we always had non-resident survivors that we were helping while the house was opened. And they have children, and so we have to help them and their children, because their children also get traumatized. And then we also have the drop-in center, who we referred women from the streets. So it just gave us a really good overall experience of living with them 24/7 versus non-residential versus the drop-in center where they come and they go to all these services. So the numbers will probably increase next year when we open the house, but suffice it to say that having a residential facility for survivors of human trafficking is extremely complex and difficult.
Yeah.
And we have to be very, very careful about staff and volunteers that serve, because they can actually have secondary trauma.
Right. Since this is Human Trafficking Awareness Month, I think sometimes some of the questions that come up for people is how is this so prevalent in South Florida, in the United States? Is it that there's social media? Is it this online age that how is this actually happening, and that these predators are making contact with?
Well, that's a great question. There's several things. Okay, so social media would be one of them. As a matter of fact, after COVID-19, social trafficking spiked up in social media because now the ladies do not go out to the streets because there's curfew. I don't know if you knew this, but pornography is huge, huge in the United States of America. If a man is doing pornography on online, eventually they want to do something. They don't get stuck just in the pornography. Now they have to act it out. So pornography fuels a lot of human trafficking. There's also strip clubs and um, high end prostitution. And people say to me, well, a prostitute chose her life. And I say, well, not really. They weren't born and say, I want to be a prostitute when I grow up. But because of circumstances at home or financial needs that they might have, a lot of trafficking survivors come from outside of the United States, and they promise things here and they never give them what they promise. So then they have to go out and, go to the strip club or, you know, do high end prostitution. That eventually transitions, not all the time, but transitions into human trafficking. So those are three of the things that are big time fuel givers of human trafficking. But then there's people that just want money and power. So imagine if a pimp has 5 girls and those 5 girls have 8 or 9 clients a day. So they want power, they want money, and then of course they offer these girls, oh, I'll buy you, your Gucci purse and your Gucci shoes, and you're going to live in a nice place. But eventually you're going to work for me, you're going to give me the money, I'm going to drug you so that you can rely on me, and then you're going to continue to do what I tell you, not what you want to do. And of course, a lot of pimps want virgins, so that's why the age has gone down, to 12, 12 years old, 13 years old, because now, John will pay more money for a virgin rather than a girl that's, been around for a while. And then there's labor trafficking. And labor trafficking is, I guess if I could explain it to you, Tamika, is here's the big umbrella, right? Human trafficking. There's under human trafficking, there's sex trafficking. There's labor trafficking, which is, people that work in hotels to clean, they don't have papers. People that work in homestead, they don't on farms, they don't have papers. So they traffic them. They make them work hours and hours and hours and hours. They pay them very little. And then on top of that, they abuse them. And then there's organ trafficking, which a lot of people don't even speak about. That's a lot more in third world countries. But so the human trafficking is the big umbrella, but under that, there's 3 different, aspects of trafficking.
I know that, and I believe I remember hearing these reports last year around the time of the Super Bowl, that was going to make South Florida #1 in the country for, I believe, sex trafficking, because it tends to follow the Super Bowl, right? Like where there's demand for that. So I guess my question is, how do you see those events like the Super Bowl that in 2021, being that things are now socially distant, less crowds, are you seeing any change in human trafficking due to this current state that we're all in?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Big events always brings, human trafficking. That's why, last year, a lot of nonprofits and a lot of things happen here in, Miami with Super Bowl. But the way that things are shifting now, as I said, it's going to now online. And actually we have been, because we do phone outreach, we go up on the internet and we look at porn sites and websites where women are being trafficked. And then we get pictures, their names, their phone numbers, and then we call them and offer them if they need any help, any services. But now there's a new software that has just come out after COVID, and what it is the software will sweep those those social media websites that we're calling, instead of us having to call, it'll sweep and it will give us a list of all the phone numbers in an area of where human trafficking is happening. And then we can text them. And the response is phenomenal. And the reason the response is phenomenal, Tamika, is because these women, they can't sometimes answer the phone when we call because they're either working or their pimps are there with them. So then what they'll do is if they get a text from us at a later time, they respond. So the response on the texting, outreach, we're calling it text outreach, is the engagement is much higher. So we're really, really excited. That's one of the new things that we're going to do in 2021.
So, being that this is Human Trafficking Awareness Month, the month of January, is there any other important facts or things that you want people to know?
Yeah. If you, detect human trafficking, report it. I think also, parents, I would encourage parents to, they don't have to panic, right? But I think that, people should be aware of human trafficking, in schools, sometimes in universities, even students befriend students to draw them into that. It's like they some of these Johns, they prep these women, right? It's not like Taken, where they take you and they put you on handcuffs. It's just like they groom you. It's a grooming process, slowly but
Right.
surely. So, when you're aware of it, you're a bit careful who you hang around with, what parties you go to. Never to go by yourself anywhere. If you see something reported, if you see a survivor, be careful not to approach them, on the streets, because maybe the pimps are watching them and then they get beaten. Of course, you can always get involved, not only with Glory House, but if there's other organizations that work with survivors of human trafficking. As a volunteer, if you can offer, if you're a professional, you can offer professional services that a lot of nonprofit organizations, can use. For example, I'll give you an example, Tamika. We offer trauma counseling to our survivors. A trauma counseling session costs $125. Well, our survivors go through trauma counseling every single week. It's a must. It's part of the program. So multiply 125 times 4 times 12 on one survivor. So people can offer their professional services, legal services, of course, financial. Whether just bringing awareness, joining an organization, whether it's ours or others, and reporting trafficking. That's what I would say that people can do, like right away, immediately. There's many gifts, many people that have very wonderful gifts that they can use to help. And you not necessarily have to, work directly with the girls. You can if you want, but not necessarily.
Right. I'd like to tie this all back into health and happiness, which is crucial for
Yes.
all of us, but I'm sure especially for survivors of this type of, abuse and of human trafficking. So, what would you say, like, and maybe from your own experiences too, is key for them in finding happiness and health as well?
Mhm. Well, to us, their spiritual life is very important, right? Their heart being healed. Of course, we believe in God, and so that's part of their whole process is their spiritual life. Them knowing that someone loves them and that cares for them and that created them to do wonderful things. These women are phenomenal. They're powerful when they're on their other side of their trauma and their that life. I mean, they do circles around you and me and 10 others, to be quite honest with you. They're so brilliant, they're intelligent. So I think they're knowing their identity, who they are. I also believe we also health is very important. The way they eat, They've never been taught, health, the way they eat. Exercise is super, super important. Fun is super important. We have to have fun, right? We have to laugh. Laugh is like medicine, right? We have art therapy. Some of them love to create jewelry. You know what we do with them, Tamika? We ask them to dream big with us, and they to put all their dreams on a piece of paper. And we say, all of those dreams, we're going to pray that all those dreams will become true while you're with us. And we're going to help you to make those dreams become a reality. So, I had a 19-year-old that got her CRN, and now she's at an emergency hospital working as a CRN. That makes her happy. We have another one that just went to Disney World with her two kids. Her two kids had never been to Disney World.
Mm-hmm.
That made her happy with her two kids. We have bonfires. We take them to the beach. We take them to go trampoline jumping. Sometimes they've never had a childhood. So sometimes we let them be like children. You know what I mean? They're like 25 years old and they're acting like they're 15, but that's okay. So absolutely happiness and joy and, their health. We try to make their lives, you know, beautiful, because they've never had beautiful lives. And so that's what our goal is, for them to just be who they were created to be, and for them to step into their purpose and destiny.
Absolutely. I know that this work that you're doing is so needed and so necessary. So thank you for that. Can you tell people who want to support, because I know that there's people who do, how they can do so and how they can learn more and connect with Glory?
Absolutely. Thank you, Tamika. Absolutely. Go to our website, gloryhouseofmiami.org. And if you want to be a volunteer, there's a little tab there to volunteer, and it'll give you the whole process. There's a process, to apply. Of course, financially, we always, want to, we need it. As a matter of fact, I think I told you earlier that in 2021 we were renting a house, and now we want to buy a house. So, if anybody wants to donate a house, we think big, but if you want to give toward that, if you want to bring awareness and you want to invite me or any other staff to talk about human trafficking in your, in wherever your circle of influence, really, if you want to offer services, professional services, we need dentists. We are looking right now for a grant writer. So there's many opportunities, and you'll see them all on the website, but that's just some of the ones that I wanted to share. And then, of course, there is a number there that you can contact us or send us an email. It's all on our website. Wonderful. If you have any questions. So thank you for asking for that.
Awesome. We'll make sure to link to that all below in the show notes so people can find that. And lastly, I did forget to ask you about 2021 and what you're doing, I believe, for Human Trafficking Awareness Month, which is the month we're in at the time of this airing, January, the Light to Darkness.
Yes, that's going to be a nationwide movement. So January is Human Trafficking Month. January 11th is Human Trafficking Day. So if you want to go to Glory House Instagram, we're going to start posting that at a certain time on January 11th, you can, out of your home, you can light up your iPhone, or you can turn on your car lights. And we're having a big church that's going to do it, all together. And we're just want to light up, just lights, and it's going to be all over the United States. Nice. Just with this movement saying, let's bring light to this dark and horrific, thing that's going on in our country. Really, it's not even just in Glory House or in South Florida, but in our whole nation. So if you want to join us for that, Instagram will start posting January 1st with all the information.
Awesome. We'll also make sure to link to your Instagram so everyone can stay connected with you there.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Betty. It's really been truly an honor having you, learning your story, and also learning all about the great work that Glory House is doing.
God. Thank you for what you do. What a blessing. Thank you for inviting me. It's been a pleasure.
Make sure you find Glory House's information below in the show notes. Connect with them if you're watching this again today, January 11th, on Instagram, and you can get involved with Light to Darkness happening today. Otherwise, go ahead, check them out online at their website, on Instagram, and keep in mind all of the warning signs that Betty mentioned, as well as raising awareness. This is a problem not just in other countries, right here in the United States, and also especially if you are right here in South Florida. Now, also stay connected with me. I want to see you back each and every week. So hit subscribe on YouTube, connect with me on LinkedIn, and I will see you back next week. Until then, stay happy, stay healthy.